A mixed economy is a mixture of freedom and controls, with no principles, rules, or theories to define either. Since the introduction of controls necessitates and leads to further controls, it is an unstable, explosive mixture which ultimately has to repeal the controls or collapse into dictatorship. A mixed economy has no principles to define its policies, no principles to define its goals, no principles to define its laws, no principles to limit the power of its government. The only principle of a mixed economy, which necessarily has to remain unnamed and unacknowledged, is that no one's interests are safe, everyone's interests are on a public auction block, and anything goes for anyone who can get away with it. Such a system, or more precisely, anti-system, breaks up a country into an ever-growing number of enemy camps, into economic groups fighting one another for self-preservation in an indeterminate mixture of defense and offense, as the nature of such a jungle demands. Suppose that a group of socialists wants to nationalize all factories, and a group of industrialists wants to keep its properties. What would it mean for either group to take into account the views of the other? And what would moderation consist of in such a case? What would constitute moderation in a conflict between a group of men who want to be supported at public expense and a group of taxpayers who have other uses for their money? What would constitute moderation in a conflict between me and a communist, when my views are that I have an inalienable right to my own life, liberty, and happiness, and his views are that the so-called public good of the state permits him to rob, enslave, or murder me? There can be no meeting ground, no middle, no compromise between opposite principles.